Hello, this is Ben Television News Roundup, a compilation of major stories in the week ending. I am Tunde Alabi, and thank you for being part of the program today. The Chancellor George Osborne Wednesday delivered the government autumn statement in a budget directed at different classes of voters, ranging from potential homeowners, students, air passengers, drivers, and small business owners. In the statement, the Chancellor George Osborne emphasized the gains of the Conservative-led coalition government.
4 years ago, in the first autumn statement of this Parliament, I presented the accounts of an economy in crisis. That's right. And today, in the last autumn statement of this Parliament, I present a forecast that shows the UK is the fastest growing of any major advanced economy in the world. Back then, Britain was on the brink. And today, against a difficult global backdrop, I can report higher growth, lower unemployment, falling inflation, and a deficit that is falling to, today, a deficit that is half what we inherited. Mr. Speaker, our long-term economic plan is working. And now Britain faces a choice. Do we squander the economic security we have gained, go back to the disastrous decisions on spending and borrowing and welfare that got us into this mess, or do we finish the job and go on building the secure economy that works for everyone? I say we stay the course, we stay on course to prosperity. Today, we do not shy away from the problems that remain unresolved in the British economy. While the deficit is falling, it remains too high. So the measures I announced today are not a net giveaway, but actually tighten the public finances a little. I could have eased up on our determination to deal with our debts. I have not. And while business investment is rising strongly, we know there is still much more to do on productivity. So today we boost our skills, our exports, our science and our infrastructure. While employment is at a record high, we must never give up on the task of finding work for all young people. So today we move further towards full employment by supporting the businesses that create jobs and apprenticeships. For decades, our economy has been too unbalanced, so we do more now to build the Northern powerhouse. And today we back aspiration, the aspiration to save, to work, and to own your own home. It is in stark contrast to those who would hit people's pensions and jobs and homes with higher taxes, and that is an approach we entirely reject. Instead, we support people who want to work hard and get on, and it's for their sakes that we resolve to stay on course to prosperity.
Speaking on the recession, the Chancellor denied that Britain ever went through any recession. He said that findings and new developments have shown that there was never a recession in Britain.
Since the budget, new international statistical standards have changed the assessment of the British economy in recent years. We now know that, contrary to claims at the time, there was no recession in this Parliament, no double dip. Indeed, the only recession was the Great Recession under the last Labour government. We also know that the economy has grown faster than previously reported, up more than 8% over this Parliament. That's the third fastest of any major advanced economy since 2010. And we know, too, that growth has been more balanced. We were told that business investment had risen by 4% over this Parliament. In fact, it has risen by 27%.
The Chancellor stated that Britain has had a better economic growth compared to other developed nations, even in Europe.
A year ago, we expected GDP to grow by 2.4%. In March, we expected 2.7%. Today, the British economy is forecast to grow by 3%. Over the last year, we have grown 2.5 times faster than Germany, over 3 times faster than the Eurozone, and over 7 times faster than France. And I think we can safely reject the advice of those in this House who told us on the steps of the Elysee Palace that we should be doing to Britain what has been done to France. Growth in the UK next year is also forecast a little higher, at 2.4%, with quarterly growth moderating as it returns to trend, then 2.2% in 2016, 2.4% the year after, then 2.3% in 2018 and 2019. And the growth we are now seeing is more balanced. Manufacturing is growing faster than any other sector, and investment is set to be up 11% this year, growing faster in the UK than any other major advanced economy. This balanced growth is creating jobs too, with a record number in work. At the budget, the OBR expected that over the last year, employment would rise by 265,000. Today, I can tell the House that they doubled that number. Over the last year, 500,000 new jobs have been created. In March, they forecast that in the first 3 quarters of the year, the number claiming unemployment benefit would fall by 7%. Today, they say it actually fell by 23%. And the number of young people on long-term unemployment benefit has almost halved in the last year alone. Unemployment is revised down in every single year of the OBR forecast, falling from the 8% we inherited to 5.4% next year before settling at 5.3%. Mr. Speaker, on average, for every day this government has been in office, 1,000 new jobs have been created, 1,000 new opportunities for people, new economic security for 1,000 families every single day. Britain's long-term economic plan is working. And, Mr. Speaker, in response to the caricature that some like to draw, that these jobs are being created only in London, that they're part-time with women losing out, I say look at the facts. How many of the jobs being created are full-time? 85%. Where are the jobs being created fastest right now? In Scotland and in the north of England. And what's happening to the gender pay gap? It's just fallen to its lowest level in the entire history of this country. That is progressive politics in action.
While giving detailed analysis of how Britain's debt profile has been managed, the Osborne noted that the government has done well in ensuring that Britain's debts are very well managed.
One of the advantages of having created an independent OBR is that they've ensured the figures that are presented today are comparable on a like-for-like basis with the forecast that was made in the budget. And on this revised basis, the forecast of the budget would have shown borrowing falling from the 150 billion we inherited to 99.3 billion last year, 86.4 billion this year, 68.3 billion next year, then 41.5 billion, 15.8 billion, and then a small surplus of 3.7 billion in 2018-19. Now that's the budget forecast. Today's forecast shows borrowing falling from 97.5 billion last year to 91.3 billion this year, then 75.9 billion next year, then 40.9 billion, 14.5 billion, and then a surplus of 4 billion in 2018-19.
The Chancellor also gave consideration to travelling families, abolishing air passengers duty for children, and freezing fuel duty tax, further forcing down the cost of pump prices on fuel.
But despite falling fuel prices, let me make this absolutely clear. We've cut fuel duty and we will keep it frozen. Mr. Speaker, with my honourable friend Verharlo sitting right behind me, I wouldn't dare do anything else. And just as we demand that falls in oil prices should be passed on to people at the pumps, other fuel price surcharges should also come down. We're going to require airlines to list the charges separately from the taxes on tickets. But I also want to reduce the cost of those tickets for families directly. My right honourable friend for Altrincham and my honourable friend for Leicestershire North West and many others have asked me to help reduce air passenger duty for children on economy flights. So from the 1st of May next year, air passenger duty for children under 12 will be abolished. And I will go further than they asked. From the following year, we'll get rid of APD for children under 16 altogether.
Brilliant UK students wanting to do master's degree in any course. We also have access to government-funded loans of up to £10,000.
Today I'm going to revolutionise the support for our postgraduate students too. Until now, there has been almost no financial support available, and the upfront costs of postgraduate degrees deter bright students from poorer backgrounds. So today, across all disciplines, we will make government-backed student loans of up to £10,000 available for the first time ever to all young people undertaking postgrad master's degrees.
Potential homeowners are also not left out in the autumn statement, as the Chancellor said that cuts to duty stamp will help new homeowners.
As well as the aspiration to work and to save, there is the aspiration to own your own home. Today I am announcing a complete reform of a tax that has been described as one of our worst designed and most damaging taxes of all. Stamp duty is charged at a single slab rate on the whole purchase price of a home. It means big jumps in tax when house values tip into a new band. The distortions can be particularly damaging at the lower end. If you buy a property worth £250,000, you pay £2,500 in tax. Buy a house worth just £1 more, and you pay over £7,500. That is 3 times as much. And in recent years, the burden of stamp duty has increased on low and middle income families trying to buy a new home as prices have risen. This makes it even more difficult to get together the cash deposits that buyers need. It's time we fundamentally change this badly designed tax on aspiration. So I am today abolishing the residential slab system altogether. In future, each rate will only apply to the part of the property price that falls within that band, like income tax. And here are the new marginal rates. You will pay no tax on the first £125,000 paid, then 2% on the portion up to £250,000, then 5% up to £925,000, then 10% up to £1.5 million, then 12% on everything over that. As a result, stamp duty will be cut for the 98% of home buyers who pay it. If you buy an averagely priced house of £275,000, you will pay £4,500 less in tax. The average home in London will see a similar reduction. As I say, 98% pay less, and the whole reform represents a tax cut of £800 million per year. Only homes that cost just over £937,000 will see their stamp duty bill go up under this system, gradually to start with, rising to more substantial sums for the most expensive homes. A £5 million house will see its stamp duty rise from £350,000 to £514,000. But of course, this is a charge that is only paid once when the property is bought.
Just one more budget to go before the next general election. The coalition government led by the Conservative is already making its projections and targeting its potential voters. Now reacting to the Chancellor's autumn statement, the Shadow Chancellor, Ed Balls, criticised the Conservative Party for leading a government that has made the working people worse off despite claims of improving economy.
First, on living standards. Wages have not kept pace with prices for 52 of the last 53 months. Today's forecasts from the OBR confirm that wage growth is once again weaker than expected. Working people are now £1,600 a year worse off than they were in 2010. Someone in full-time work is now £2,000 a year worse off. Mr. Speaker, for working people, there is a cost of living crisis. And that squeeze on living standards is not only hitting family budgets, it's also led to a shortfall in tax revenues. The OBR confirms that stagnant wages and low-paid employment have hit revenues. This is what the OBR says. They say weaker than expected wage growth so far in 2014-15 is depressing PAYE and NICS receipts.
Ed Balls also attacked the government £2 billion annual investment into the National Health Service Scheme and the stamp duty reduction.
And on the National Health Service, we welcome his belated recognition there's a funding crisis. Everyone knows, other than the Prime Minister it seems, our health service is going backwards. A&E waiting times are going up, GP waiting times are going up, thanks to their £3 billion reckless reorganisation. The Chancellor announced £2 billion, which he said was every year, into the future, paid, it seems, by an underspend every year into the future. I've never heard of a prospective forecast of an underspend done in quite that way. Can he confirm that is £2 billion a year over a flat, real baseline for the National Health Service? We need to know the answer to that one, Mr. Speaker. He's also, it seems, confirmed the crisis cash, 700 million of it, is actually a re-announcement of a reallocation from within the existing National Health Service, the Department of Health budget. What we have seen today from the Chancellor with his stamp duty reforms, he has now accepted, welcomely, that high-value properties are under-taxed in our country. But rather than taxing them only on sale, why doesn't he have the courage of his convictions? The average person pays 390 times more in annual council tax as a percentage of their property than the billionaire buyer of a £140 million penthouse in Hyde Park. Why won't the Chancellor have an annual charge on the highest value properties and use that for a £2.5 billion a year investment in the NHS so we can have 20,000 nurses and 8,000 GPs every year? Why won't he match that commitment? Our National Health Service deserves a proper funded long-term plan, not just more short-term sticking plaster, Mr. Speaker.
The Conservative is already making its projection and targeting all classes of voters in the next coming general election. From politics to economy, to business, technology, the totality of what makes man is all bring to you here on this Punch. We give you the information that you need, from business to economy, to politics, to technology. And that's all we do here on this Punch, from the beginning to the end. And that is why we are here. Keep watching this Punch from Ben Television. And today, I am your host. This is all we have for you on this episode of News Roundup this week. Thank you for being part of it. I am Tunde Alabi. Do have a very good week ahead of you.